In this episode, we talk about the dwindling population of tigers in the Sahyadri Reserve. We also talk about the AAP's response to Swati Maliwal's allegation of assault by CM Kejriwal's personal assistant. But first, we talk about Madhya Pradesh, which finished polling on Monday. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Along with Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, Madhya Pradesh is one of the most crucial states for the BJP in the Hindi heartland. In 2019, the Saffron Party won 27 out of 29 seats in the state, and it likely remains just as popular as far as the general elections are concerned. Its position in the state is also strengthened by the fact that over the past few months, scores of members from the main opposition party, the Congress, have joined the BJP. Back in April, when we spoke to Indian Express's Anand Mohan, who reports on the state, he mentioned that about 16,000 Congress workers had switched to the BJP. However, he now says that the number is much higher.
Just like we discussed last time, the BJP had managed to induct over 16,000 leaders at that time. Now they claim that it's reached around 5 to 7 lakh. Your guess is good as mine whether this is an actual figure or not. And the BJP right now has its eyes set on winning all 29 seats in the assembly elections. It has its eyes set on Chhindwara, which is the bastion of former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Kamal Nath, and they have managed to break away over 2,000 leaders, including its sitting tribal MLA Kamleshwar Shah, in the hope of reducing the margin. Because last time Nakul Nath, the son of Kamal Nath, had won the elections by a margin of over 30,000 votes, which is not a huge margin if you look at the fact that the BJP leaders in the state had won by a margin of several lakhs, around 1 to 5 lakh margins in the state. So the BJP will try to reduce its lead, even though the Congress party is still confident of retaining Chhindwara, even though the entire central leadership was sent to fight the elections in Chhindwara.
Now another major setback for the Congress occurred in Indore, the state's largest Lok Sabha constituency with over 25 lakh voters. Here, the Congress does not have a candidate. This happened after its leader, Akshay Bam, withdrew at the last minute, and the application of the substitute nominee also fell through.
This is also considering the fact that the Congress state president, Mr. Jitu Patwari, belongs to this region, and it was Mr. Jitu Patwari who had greenlit this man's name. So obviously now there are going to be questions called on Jitu Patwari's decision-making abilities. There were also many people in the Congress party who were vying for Indore Lok Sabha seats, and so they would say that, why was this man chosen over it? So now the Congress party is fighting this election on the plank of nota, which has sort of never happened, I think, in the Hindi heartland political history, I think. And the Congress party has been pasting posters across the city on auto rickshaws, and you have the BJP leaders tearing down these posters and, going to the election commission and complaining against the Congress party. And right now, as we see it, the polling percentage in Indore is the lowest this time around. However, the BJP is confident of winning the seat.
However, he says that despite this, it's not a complete walkover for the BJP in the state, especially considering that the voter turnout in the first two phases of the polls was not particularly high.
This is due to a series of factors, one being the weather, two, this is a agrarian state with over 70% of the people involved in the agriculture sector, and the summer months are the time when the farming community sort of gets married in Madhya Pradesh, so they missed out on the elections. And third, which is the biggest cause of worry for the BJP, is that the women voters have sort of dipped, and it is the women voters who had went out in large numbers and had voted for the BJP. This time around, there is a worry that the women voters have not come out. This may also be due to the fact that the former Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan was just restricted to his base in Vidisha and a handful of other places in the state. And this election is being fought under the guidance of Mohan Yadav, who is the new Chief Minister. So this sort of a cause for worry for the BJP.
Moreover, there are several regions in the state where the BJP is facing anti-incumbency. Anand tells us that one major concern people have is regarding jobs.
People still have to go out of their state to work. There's no jobs out here. Job in the government sector is very difficult. The Agnipath scheme is a problem in the northern regions of the state where everybody wants to join the army. So there is a bit of anger against the BJP over the scheme. But the BJP would hope to sort of win over these tough segments with the help of its massive outreach programs, its beneficiary schemes, and Modi's face to win the state.
Now, while PM Modi is immensely popular, what continues to remain a worry for the party are the state's tribal regions. Anand says that this is partly because 1/3 of the Congress's MLAs are from the tribal belts of MP.
In fact, in this phase, the Dhar Lok Sabha seat, the leader of opposition Umang Singhar belongs to this region. If I just talk about this phase, in the Malwa Nimar region, which is where Indore and all these seats are based, of the 66 assembly seats, 22 were reserved for tribals, and Congress party had won 12 of these seats. And the BJP managed to win only 9. And then if you talk about the Ratlam, Khargon and, Dhar Lok Sabha seat regions, there are around 24 seats, out of which 17 are reserved for STN, for the scheduled tribe communities in this whole region, and the BJP only managed to win 5, where the Congress party won 11 seats. So this shows that the Congress party has a substantial hold on the tribal community in these seats, which is why Prime Minister Narendra Modi had started Madhya Pradesh election campaign from Jhabua.
सबसे पहले मैं झाबुआ की पावन मिट्टी को नमन करता हूं। झाबुआ जितना मध्य प्रदेश से जुड़ा है, उतना ही गुजरात से भी जुड़ा है।
But again, we must understand that the organization, the Congress party is relatively weak. The RSS is comparatively stronger in these regions. We also must understand that the BJP has been quoting tribal population by celebrating tribal icons and renaming universities and railway stations and whatnot. And you have the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is spearheading this entire exercise of quoting the tribal population. Also, the RSS happens to be very strong, and the Congress party's tribal outreach is sort of lacking, because this is what we saw in the assembly elections in other regions of the state. So we'll have to see. So it's going to be an interesting fight here in Madhya Pradesh, and the BJP has been completely confident, thinking that they're going to be 29 seats, and the Congress party thinks that they are going to just play spoil sport with this Mission 29 and win a handful of seats and surprise the BJP.
Meanwhile, talking about the Congress's campaign in the state, Anand says that the party is focusing its energy on a handful of seats, including Chhindwara, which he mentioned earlier.
There are also several seats, like, for example, the Rajgarh seat, where Digvijay Singh is contesting against Rodmal Nagar, who is a 2-term MP and who has we've seen him apologize to the people over the lack of development in the region, and they are the BJP is fighting this election on the face of Narendra Modi, whereas the Congress party, I was with Digvijay Singh during his campaign trail, and he is fighting on this plank of that the BJP is going to change the constitution. He is driving home this point among the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities in the state, who depend on the constitution and the concept of reservations to really progress in life. Also, there is a worry among the BJP in regions where they have fielded candidates who have lost in the assembly elections. For example, former Union Minister Faggan Singh Kulaste, who's been fielded from Mandla, Ganesh Singh from Satna, Alok Sharma from Bhopal, and Bharat Singh Kushwaha from Gwalior. It's these seats that the Congress party is trying to focus its might. In the northern region, for example, in the Gwalior-Chambal region, you would see that the Congress party had done relatively better here compared to the other regions in the assembly elections. For example, in the Gwalior and Bhind region, of the 8 assembly segments, each the Congress party had won 4, while in Morena, out of 8, it had won 5. So it has managed to hold out on its own in this region.
But he says that due to a weak organizational structure and with thousands jumping ship, the Congress's prospects seem weak in MP.
And the fact that in the northern region, the Bahujan Samajwadi Party is also a player. And I saw the BSP campaign in many seats where I was traveling through. And many of the BSP candidates just happen to be Congress Party turncoats. So there is a fear that the BSP candidates are going to eat into the Congress Party votes, and this is going to help the BJP gain victory. In the end, I would say that the Congress party has not been able to capitalize on this election because they started this election with a feeling of dejection. Their main campaign plank has been trying to get the new BJP government to implement its election promises said in the assembly elections. But we must understand that the assembly elections just recently concluded. The party will take time to implement all of its promises. It has set up committees to study the BJP manifesto and to figure out ways to an action plan to set this straight. So I think the voters are going to understand that. But the talk of reservation and the constitution threatens to damage the BJP, but owing to a lack of significant Congress presence on the ground and its lack of financial reserves, this is going to prove to be an uphill task.
And next we talk about the Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, located in the Sahyadri ranges of Western Ghats in Maharashtra. To revive the dwindling tiger population in the Sahyadri Reserve, the Forest Department has planned to translocate tigers from another reserve over 800 kilometers away on the other side of the state. This is an ambitious project which the officials can only achieve if the Sahyadri Konkan Wildlife Corridor, spread across Maharashtra, Goa and Karnataka, is secure and free from human disturbances. To understand why the Sahyadri Tiger Reserve has a low tiger population and why the Forest Department has opted to translocate tigers, we have Indian Express's Nikhil Ghanekar joining us in this segment. Nikhil, can you begin by telling us why is Maharashtra planning to translocate tigers to the Sahyadri Reserve?
So, Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, Niharika, is located in the northern western Ghats in Maharashtra. It is the only tiger reserve which is located in that part of the state. The problem here is that ever since it was notified in the year 2010, the prey base there has been really poor, which means that apex predators such as the tigers do not really have too much food to rely on. That leads to problems in maintaining their populations. So tigers haven't really flourished in this space ever since this tiger reserve was notified. So initially from 2016-2017 onwards, they started augmenting the prey base, which means that they first made the landscape ready for herbivores such as chital, sambar to be introduced. That process began in 2021, and they thought that now that this process was done, they could start the next step, which is the translocation. Translocation essentially is done to kickstart a population revival in landscapes where tigers are not really flourishing. And that is the reason why they thought that this could probably work as an experiment.
Right. And is translocation the only way to revive the population of the tigers?
No, not really. Translocation is one of the methods. The other methods are essentially, to basically give a context for our listeners, tiger reserves do have source populations around the forest within the vicinity also. So it is not like only the tiger reserves have the tiger populations. Tiger reserves are at the end of the day administrative borders. Tigers move out of the tiger reserves and in the neighboring forests. So if there are other source populations and if the forest department thinks that they can disperse to the tiger reserves, they can maintain the habitat well. They can essentially improve the protection measures there, and they can rely on these steps before actually relying on the translocation method. Now, translocation essentially means that you basically take tigers from an area where they are in abundant or where they are in surplus and put them in areas where there are no tigers or less tigers. In some cases, there are tigers in a tiger reserve, but the mating population has nearly gone extinct. So in such cases, they bring a mating pair to such tiger reserves so that they can revive the populations. The other methods, like I mentioned earlier, are essentially improving the habitat, improving the vegetation for the prey, introducing prey itself from outside so that tigers can have food and resources to flourish there.
And is this a regular practice, translocating tigers from one reserve to another?
Not exactly, because it happens on a case-to-case basis. Like I said, mentioned earlier, that in areas where it is absolutely necessary and the conservationist and forest department believes that there could be local extinction of tigers in that specific area, in that specific region, they go for this option.
Right. And to translocate these tigers, the forest department will depend on the Sahyadri Konkan Wildlife Corridor. For those of who might not know, can you explain what is a wildlife corridor and how does it help in wildlife conservation?
So essentially, wildlife corridor is nothing but pathways which connect different forests. Like we humans use highways to travel from one place to another. We have our own road networks built for ourselves. Tigers and other wildlife such as elephants, they basically use these corridors to migrate from one place to another. Now the reasons for these migrations vary from finding a mate, finding food, finding water sources outside the main tiger reserve areas. Sometimes there are human disturbances. They want to evade that and move to areas where there is relatively low human disturbance. So wildlife corridors come handy for them in these circumstances where they can travel, they can basically survive and also find ways to increase their population.
And Nikhil, can you talk about the Sahyadri Konkan corridor and what stands out about it?
So essentially, if we bear in mind what we just discussed about what wildlife corridors are, so there are different landscapes in our country. There are 7 to 10 broad landscapes of tiger populations. And within those landscapes, there are these corridors which essentially help in connecting tigers between these landscapes and forests. So administratively speaking, tiger reserve is a notified area which gets separate funds. But outside tiger reserves also, there are reserve forests, protected forests and smaller territorial forests. Now, these forest, tiger reserves, and human settlements form the tiger corridors or wildlife corridors, broadly speaking. One such corridor is this Sahyadri corridor, which is located in the western part of Maharashtra, and it begins in the districts of Sangli and Kolhapur, touches Ratnagiri, and goes southwards towards Goa and eventually Karnataka. So what happens is that tigers, when they need food, if they think that the food in one specific place is not enough for them, they can move up and down on that corridor and find refuge.
So, Nikhil, since there is a lot of human settlements along the corridor, can you tell us what are some of the challenges that these corridors are facing?
So one of the biggest threats at the moment as we speak right now is the infrastructure development and infrastructure boom that is happening in our country vis-a-vis road connectivity, railway connectivity, erection of power transmission lines, which is in conservation parlance or development parlance is known as linear infrastructure. So typically what happens is that when linear infrastructure is constructed, a habitat of wildlife corridors is fragmented, it's split. So that basically breaks the contiguity of forested areas. That is one of the biggest threats right now. To basically counter these problems, we have developed certain solutions also in our country, taking basically a cue from other countries, such as building underpasses and overpasses where wildlife can cross busy intersections on the highways very carefully and without harming themselves. We have built certain different kind of mitigations, such as viaducts where elephants can pass through beneath road networks. So these are some of the challenges. Mining is another big challenge. There are many wildlife corridors where mining does happen very regularly. In fact, in the Sahyadri corridor, bauxite and iron mining happens at a regular basis.
And Nikhil, what is the legal status of these corridors? Like, how do they exactly fit into the infrastructure of the states they run across?
So as far as the legal status of these wildlife corridors is concerned, it's a very interesting space because our domestic laws do not really have a specific provision right now where we can notify these corridors. So strengthening and maintaining and conserving these corridors becomes as much an issue because of this problem. Whereas we can notify tiger reserves, in the context of tiger reserves, we can notify them. But when it comes to wildlife corridors, we don't have a specific provision for that. So in such a scenario, the forest department has to also include the community and take them into confidence so that they have their trust on board when the conservation efforts are rolled out in and around such wildlife corridors. In case of corridors where elephants use them specifically, some elephant corridors are also declared as elephant reserves specifically. So the forest department and the people working on the ground, such as independent conservationists, have to go out of their way to use such methods, and community participation is the key here.
And what methods of community participation are usually implemented for this?
So one of the common things that happening across our country is human-animal conflict. As you know, a lot of animals depredate on crops. They also come in the path of people working in fields, and generally in animal herds can also pass through villages. So what happens is that there is an antagonism that is built towards wildlife populations. So in such a scenario, it is the duty of not just the wildlife departments, but also the people to understand that the coexistence has to happen at some place. So from time to time, forest departments across states hold workshops. They basically reach out to villagers and tell them a list of do's and don'ts that they can adopt when they are working in the fields or when they are traveling at night, so that they can avoid attacks by predators such as leopards and tigers.
And in the end, we talk about Swati Maliwal. A day after Rajya Sabha MP Swati Maliwal was allegedly assaulted by Arvind Kejriwal's personal assistant Bibhav Kumar, senior AAP leader Sanjay Singh on Tuesday called the incident commendable and said that Delhi Chief Minister will take strict action in the case. Maliwal had called the police control room on Monday morning alleging that she had been attacked by Kumar at the CM house on Kejriwal's instruction, a daily diary entry shows. The Delhi police said that she then went to the Civil Lines police station but did not file an official complaint. Yesterday, Rajya Sabha MP Sanjay Singh said that Swati Maliwal reached the house of Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Monday morning, and while she was waiting for him in the drawing room, Bibhav Kumar came there and misbehaved with her. The CM has taken cognizance of the entire incident and will take strict action.
कल एक बहुत ही निंदनीय घटना घटित हुई जिसके बारे में आप सबको बताना चाहता हूं। कल सुबह अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के आवास पर स्वाति मालीवाल जी मिलने के लिए पहुंची थी, ड्राइंग रूम में इंतजार कर रही थी। इस बीच विभव कुमार जी वहां पे आते हैं और उन्होंने स्वाति मालीवाल जी के साथ बहुत बदतमीजी की, अभद्रता की। इस पूरे मामले की जानकारी 112 नंबर पे कॉल करके स्वाति मालीवाल जी ने पुलिस को दी। इस घटना की जितनी निंदा की जाए कम है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने पूरी घटना को संज्ञान में लिया है और इस पूरे मामले में सख्त कार्रवाई करने को कहा है।
Meanwhile, the National Commission for Women took suo motu cognizance of the media reports regarding the incident and has sought an action taken report from the Delhi Police Commissioner within 3 days. Recently, questions were raised about Maliwal's absence from Delhi after Kejriwal's arrest on March 21st and also on last Saturday when Kejriwal had made his first public address after being granted interim bail by the Supreme Court. Maliwal said that she was in US for her sister's treatment. After coming back, she did participate in a few election rallies. Post the incident, the BJP questioned the ruling party's silence over the issue. Virendra Sachdeva, Delhi BJP president, said, "Why has the party been quiet when a woman has been misbehaved with and assaulted?"
दुखद है ऐसी जानकारी मिलना और अग्रिम जमानत पर छूटे दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री का आवास विभिन्न कारणों से चर्चा में रहता ही है। और इस तरह से अगर किसी महिला के साथ वहां उनके कहने पर उनके पीए ने मारपीट की है तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि जिस दिल्ली का मुख्यमंत्री अपने घर पर बैठकर पहले मुख्य सचिव को पिटवाता रहा हो, अब महिलाओं को पिटवा रहा हो, कारण सिर्फ इतना है जो जानकारी मिल रही है कि स्वाति मालीवाल अपनी बातों को स्पष्ट रखने के लिए जानी जाती हैं और उन्होंने कुछ ऐसे सवाल पूछे जो उनको शायद रास नहीं आ रहे थे। लेकिन मैं इस घटना की निंदा करता हूं और इस पूरी घटना की जांच की मांग करता हूं ताकि किसी भी बहन के साथ अगर इस तरह की बात होती है तो उसको न्याय मिलना चाहिए। इस तरह का अत्याचार दिल्ली के इस माहौल में तो हम बर्दाश्त नहीं होने देंगे।
Swati Maliwal's association with Kejriwal as well as Bibhav Kumar dates back to the time when they worked together in the Public Cause Research Foundation, the NGO co-founded by Kejriwal before the formation of AAP and even the India Against Corruption movement. She was Delhi Commission for Women chief for nearly a decade and was nominated to the Rajya Sabha by the Aam Aadmi Party in January, becoming the party's very first woman MP.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Shashank, Bhargava and me, Niharika, Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.